The idea I'm going to introduce to you today changed how I look at the internet, and hopefully it'll do the same for you. Now, before I do so, I have a quick question to ask you. If you had to categorize every piece of content that you see out there as one word, what word would come to mind? I'm talking about YouTube videos, newsletters, Twitter threads, LinkedIn posts, research papers, course videos, all of that. What word comes to your head? I want to bias you here, and the word I'd strongly recommend is articles. Every piece of content that you see on the internet is an article. And what's an article? It's an independent unit of information. Now, take a random newsletter or a random YouTube video, and you'll quickly notice how at some point that article was just a few mere thoughts. Maybe it was an observation, maybe an idea, maybe an epiphany, maybe a few of those stitched together into a cohesive piece and presented to you in the form of an article. Recap, you already know that ideas, concepts, observations, reflections, understandings, and all of these are essentially just different types of thoughts. And when you note down a thought, it's a note. So by extension, all of these ideas, concepts, reflections, etc. are notes. Putting two and two together, whenever you're reading an article, you're essentially consuming a stitched together version of an author's notes. They've brought together their concepts and reflections and maybe a few breakthrough ideas into one structured piece and presented to you maybe in the form of a YouTube video or maybe a newsletter. Now I'm going to say something really simple, but also really interesting. The internet is just a bunch of people stitching together their thoughts and publishing them in the form of articles. That's literally it. Now, every time you consume an article, your neurons fire in a specific direction, the one that resonates with what the author was thinking when they wrote it. But there's something more intriguing that happens over here. Your intelligent brain creates a journey from that article that's very unique to you and your experiences. So if you come from the world of food, cooking, or diet, your journey when consuming an article will be completely different than when someone comes from the world of finance, which is going to be completely different when someone comes from the school of math or science. And obviously different if you come from multiple schools of thought. So naturally, when you consume articles, you also experience thoughts. And when you note down those thoughts, those are notes. So as you can see, there's like a lot of back and forth between articles and notes. And these two are very prominent entities that are witnessed all the time. You read someone's thoughts in the form of an article, and then you get some thoughts of your own, you bring them together, and you potentially write your own article. So a lot of back and forth between these two. And it's safe to say that we're not known by the people we keep. We're shaped by the voices that influence our thoughts. The voices we carry in our mind matter the most. Those whose voices echo loudest have the greatest influence on our actions and our behavior. Now, all of this was really important for me to bring to surface because now with the second brain operating system, you have a very conscious choice as to who gets to be loud and who gets to be quiet in your second brain OS. I think you'll see very similar between your brain and the second brain OS is that it doesn't matter when an idea happens. What matters more are the connections between related ideas. So essentially, when you find and surface and bring together your ideas, you're creating a stimulus. This stimulus will automatically refresh your memory and bring to the forefront any of those connected ideas, regardless of when they happen. In other words, it's a great way to refresh your working memory and bring all those connected ideas as a neural network to your first brain right here in the forefront. And to bring it all together, I'll give you a logical, nice statement that you can remember. Authors publish articles to platforms that get us to think and take notes. At this point, you clearly understand there's a strong relationship between articles and notes. And so if I have to say, how do you get creative? The answer is quite simple. You've already trained these social media platforms to serve you exactly what you're interested in, whether it's Medium, YouTube, Instagram, and so on and so forth. They learn so much from what you search, what you browse, what you consume, and especially what you spend time on. So in order to get into a creative burst, all you have to do is consume, but with a priority. Simple set process, a very simple routine that I follow that helps me get into creative flow states in a matter of minutes. I recommend doing this for a minimum of 60 minutes twice a week. It will keep you updated, it will keep you fresh, it will keep your creative juices flowing. By the end of the exercise, you have a filtered list of articles that you can consume on a high priority. The reason for this filtering is to sift out anything that you already know and also sift out anything that lacks value. Now I'm going to quickly walk you through the game plan of how we're going to trigger creative flow states. The way I like to do this is keep a balance between being natural and being organized. The problem with being too natural is that you get distracted, end up in rabbit holes, and not end up achieving much. The problem with being too organized, it becomes a mechanical process and feels work-like. So we want that sweet spot in the middle. What I personally like to do is first visit YouTube and Medium because these are long-form platforms. The content on them is more nuanced, more detailed, so it helps me trigger a better creative state. So I visit these platforms and I naturally click on any headlines and links that appeal to me. I open a maximum of 10-ish tabs. Once I'm done, I go through each article, giving it only 15 to 30 seconds. This 15 to 30 seconds is to decide whether or not I'm interested in it or whether I'd rather close it and move forward. If I'm interested in it, I don't go through the full thing. What I do instead is I copy the link and I give it to my second brain OS. My second brain OS can crawl the text, especially if it's a public article, and then that gives me a clear understanding of what's inside, allowing me to better understand whether it's giving my full attention and full time to. So it's a two-step process. Going through the articles naturally, giving them 15 to 30 seconds each, allowing myself to understand whether it's something that interests me or not in the first place, and then getting to know what's inside without spending a lot of time. So I'm going to naturally scroll through Medium and then potentially refresh my feed to get it to align more with what I'm interested in the present moment. Right now, I'm thinking about this hype around AI agents, why it's painting a bad picture, the idea of critical thinking, and how that's potentially disturbed by AI or augmented by AI. And so I want to read articles around those. Coincidentally and luckily, one of those articles is right in front of me. The other thing I've been interested in is that there's this Chinese company called DeepSeek, which has been working on a different kind of large language model that's better suited to coding. So that's something I'm also interested in, interests me. I've also been wondering why a lot of people don't use Claude. Just by the way, the second brain OS is designed to work with Claude and ChatGPT. I personally use it with Claude, and should that interest you, you can always get in touch and we can set it up for you. So I'm going to click yes on this articles. I think that's enough articles for now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give each one a maximum of 15 seconds each. Okay, not bad. It's a deeper article. I'd like to know more about it quickly and see whether or not I can do that. Okay, perfect. It has been able to crawl the article. That's really, really good. At this point, I'm going to repeat the same process, giving each article a maximum of 15 seconds. If I like it, it's a yes. I copy the link, paste it into the second brainwise custom GPT, ask it to get the key insights, because in phase two, I'm going to use those key insights to determine whether or not that article is actually worth spending time on. So I'm just going to repeat this process from this point. It saved me such a big hassle when it comes to copying and pasting. I literally had to put no effort of copying and pasting the text. It was able to crawl pretty much all the articles. Maybe I got lucky. I hope you do too. But yeah, I think it has like an 80 to 90% success rate, depending on whether it's a YouTube video or whether it's a text article. But it generally does a good job, as you can see. Okay, now to be honest with you, I really want to read this article, but it doesn't align with my current goals. I mean, I appreciate, like, I've always been into Duolingo. I've always been into learning another language, although I still don't act on it as much as I should. But yeah, I think not for now. So next one. Now I'm ready to go through all the responses and decide which one is right for me and which one isn't. Okay, so the first one was the death of critical thinking will kill us long before AI. Now that I've read the responses, I have a list of clear and filtered articles. These articles don't contain information I already know, and these articles aren't the ones that are just hyped up and are going to waste my time. So I'm in a good position for organized creative burst. Why? Because as I spend more and more time with the information that's really relevant to me and interesting to me, I'm going to be able to capture new ideas and nuances as and when they happen. This is going to be a true value for my time. So with this, I'm just going to continue reading these articles and capturing ideas as they happen. I'll spend a couple of seconds showing you how I do it. You'll be able to see it in fast mode. And after I've captured those ideas, I'll go into the second brain as custom GPT and find those ideas, showing you how you can return back to those ideas easily without guilt, without difficulty, and without hassle in the future. That's a really good insight. And the reason I reword things and not copy paste them was because you get to process the knowledge in your own way. So for me, the idea of not interacting with people who are always going to hold on to mistakes, that idea really resonates. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask AI to search through my knowledge based on the insights I've acquired recently. Of course, I need to give it a starting point because it can't just come up with what it needs to search. So I've read the article on how critical thinking impacts AI. I read stuff about LinkedIn growth and I figured out this tool and I can't remember the name, which is great. We're going to ask it to find the name for us. That LinkedIn tool was something around the lines of like sorting LinkedIn content, but also by keywords, like kind of like an SEO search for LinkedIn. What else was there? Yeah, and then there was this article that I read on building on public and the reasons to build on public. So I'm going to ask you to bring together my knowledge on all three things. So let's start. First, can you search my ideas on the impact of AI on critical thinking and how to navigate it? Let me actually just make this full screen since we don't need that. Yeah. And I can just sidebar this. Also, I'm not giving it any advantage. I'm starting it from a clean state. I'm starting from a brand new chat. Okay, so here's roughly what I noted, and it's brought it back through meaning. So one of the key points was for me, AI can't independently decide how dots should be connected. It merely follows pre-observed patterns, making human oversight essential for depth and direction. So my big thing is that critical thinking is something that humans do, and they're going to continue to do it for a very long time, in my humble opinion. To get AI to that level, it's going to be very costly, and it's going to allow it needs to be at a point where the computational power we have is scalable without scaling the cost. So that's a long time from now. But anyway, my point being is, as of present, as of right now, critical thinking has to be led by a human. And when you let AI replace it, you're essentially relying on very generic responses and you're letting yourself be a surface level thinker. So here's an example of a point I picked up from my knowledge. The reliance on AI generated summaries leads to superficial understanding. That is exactly what I believe, as AI merely connects observable dots without creating meaningful insights. So the way to navigate this, recommendations for navigating AI's impact: approach content mindfully as a human, forming your own perspective before involving AI in the analysis. That is exactly the point of the second brain OS, right? You need to document your own perspective, your own thoughts, your own ideas, your own unique insights on things before engaging AI, rather than becoming a superficial surface level thinker. So that's one other things. Curate high quality sources of information and prioritize mindful engagement to avoid information overload and distractions. Balancing diversification and focus is key to cultivating critical evaluation skills, which is why I've given you this routine, right? You want to have high quality content going into your brain. So the AI helps you filter it out, but then the perceptive nuances, the perceptive insights, those need to be generated by you. So practical strategies: collaborate with AI, don't rely on it. Critical thinking development: actively engage with content, question, evaluate, synthesize before allowing AI to enhance or refine your ideas. This is decent. Okay, now let's do the next test. Can you search my knowledge for this LinkedIn growth tool that is like a keyword swifter searcher? It helps rank posts. rank posts on LinkedIn and search by keyword. I can't remember the name. Now, I've purposely made a few spelling mistakes in this. I wanted to see and give the results and show you that it's capable of giving really good results even if you make these kind of mistakes. Yep, it's actually exactly this one. It's called Clio. Let me just show it to you to prove to you that it is exactly what we're looking for. Discover and create the best content on the platform. Clio is a free browser extension that helps you easily consume and create content on LinkedIn. And so the idea of this tool essentially is, I'm not advertising this tool, I am yet to use it myself. It helps you sort LinkedIn content by keywords, right? And that's exactly what it found. I genuinely could not remember the name and it brought it forward. Other related tools mentioned include LinkedIn Search API. I don't intend to use that because it's unnecessarily complex. Microsoft puts a lot of barriers in place to using some of its products, LinkedIn Search API being one of those. Audience intelligence tools, Spark Draw. Yes, I remember reading about this way back, and Crawl IQ. I'm not sure if they exist, if they're still used, but yeah, I remember reading about them way back. What was the third thing? Yes. Third article I read. It was about building in public. Yeah. Can you tell me about my ideas on building in public and highlight the single biggest advantage from it that is very personal to me? So I'm not telling it what that advantage is. I'm not spelling it out. I'm asking it to connect the dots in an observable direction, in a direction that is observed from my knowledge. So thankfully, the insights it's given me are very specific to my knowledge. The biggest advantage I was looking for was this Lux surface area. And the idea of a Lux surface area is essentially the more content you produce, the more area there is for you to have conversations and grow connections and to leverage that mesh network of, you create content, but you don't have to put in so much effort because people engage with it and they take it to the next level. So thankfully, it has narrowed down that Lux surface area aspect that I had in mind. And I'm happy to see that, it's there. And on top of that, it's also brought in some other things that I have noted down during that time. It's a good way, it's like a good exercise building in public to get over perfectionism and to actually get over some form of shame that's within us. I don't know, there's this deeper psychological aspect to all human beings that when we go to a stage, we get stage fright. It's some sort of a survival thing. When too many people are looking at you, you feel weird, uncomfortable, or awkward. So building in public helps you overcome those. And that's what I noted down in my notes. And it's pretty accurately gotten those. So yeah, with that, this demonstration comes to a close. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed this idea of having an organized routine to stimulate your creative flow states and then to really prioritize how you consume content so that you're letting the right people influence your actions and your thoughts. Because the second brain is a place for your knowledge to come and connect together, and you should be the director of that play and nobody else.